Hey, welcome back to the Moxie Movement podcast. Stoked to have you here and super excited to be chatting with you today about something that I see so many mums in business struggle with. And I think part of it's because we're working these business models that weren't made for this life that we live, right? You and I are being a mum, so we're looking after our kids and making sure the household runs and maintaining an intimate relationship with your husband or your partner. Plus you've got all these other roles that you play in your business, and there just seems to be this gap between getting to business success and the actual freedom and flexibility you thought you were going to have when you got there. Today I'm going to talk about what that gap looks like and how we can fix it. We have been away last month doing a little bit of exploring in Vietnam, which was fabulous. 3 weeks, all the way to the top of Vietnam to go to Sapa and go to the highest mountain at the top of Southeast Asia, Fansipan. My husband was there 20 years ago and walked all the way to the top and did the hike in one overnight trip. It's a long way up. It's 3,170 meters. This time, we're back here 20 years later, 23 years later maybe, and we took a cable car from the town of Sapa to about 2,000 meters, and then we walked the last kilometre at altitude. It reminded me how much more I need to work on my VO2 max, because when the oxygen got lower in the air, it got a little harder to walk up the mountain. So the setup up there is like, it's historic pagodas, and there's a huge Buddha up there. Ronnie said last time he was there, there's literally a marker triangle at the top of the mountain. That's still there, but there's all this structure built around it. And it was really interesting heading up there. Most people didn't do the last kilometre walk. Most people then took this little, I don't know, not a cable car, but almost like a big elevator up the last kilometre. We wanted to say that we'd walked at least some of it, so we walked up. And it shows you just how much something can shift in a really short space of time. And we're up above the clouds. It was beautiful. And it reminded me of business and how small shifts incrementally over time make a huge difference. 20 years ago, 23 years ago, when Johnny visited the top of this mountain, would have seen, a few hundred, maybe a few thousand people over the year, because you had to walk yourself up there. It was a solid hike. And now it's accessible to everyone to go up there. You could see that on a busy day, it would be manic up there. And that is progress consistently growing over time, that they've got better at hosting a wider range of tourists. They've made their offerings more expensive, and over time made it more and more accessible, from being a young, fit 20s, early 30s backpacker, and only accessible to those sort of people that can walk for 14 hours straight, to be accessible to you even if you're in a wheelchair, is a huge shift over 20 years. But it was about consistent changes made over time by Vietnam. And it's the same for you in your business, same for me in my business. It's not about what I'm doing today or tomorrow or next week even. It's about the consistent stacking of that work all the time. The reason I get them to think bigger, the reason I get them to build their businesses to serve not just today you, but future you, 10 years in the future, is because most of you underestimate what you can do in those 10 years. Johnny massively underestimated what would change at the top of Fansipan in 20 years, and most of us overestimate what we're going to do in a year. And so I said to the woman in my program the other day, I've never hit a 1-year goal. I always get pretty close. 80-90% of my goals get done every year. I hit my 10-year vision for my life in terms of myself and my marriage with my husband and my relationship with my daughter and the overarching business goals in 7 years. It doesn't mean you need to do the same amount every day. You just need to be working towards the right things every day, taking a small step in the right direction so that you can get where you want to go. If that's a cable car to the top of your mountain, then it's going to be a great outcome for you. I think as a family, we probably would have preferred to hike there. We did some big hikes to waterfalls and things on other days. And I know that from a local community point of view, that putting an easier access way in for tourists, making it more easily accessible for people, has opened up opportunities in South Perth that would never have been there, never been possible without it 20 years ago. And it's the same thing to think about in your business. That small incremental change over time is super, super important. I've talked before about the fact that I've always been able to be a passenger princess when it comes to riding the motorbikes here in Southeast Asia. And this particular experience this time round was I couldn't be a passenger princess because obviously Scarlett is now too tall. She can't sit on the front of the bike and me on the back. It's too much for one motorbike, so she gets to be Dad's passenger and I get to drive my own bike. Vietnam was an experience because I haven't driven on the right-hand side of the road. Thankfully here in Thailand it's the left-hand side of the road. One of the days we went to a waterfall. It was very grandma on her mobility scooter vibes, not Fast and the Furious motorbike vibes, and went to see this beautiful waterfall. And it was so funny because we went into the tourist information centre. We ran one of those for years in the Bay Islands, and this lady was super helpful. She spoke fluent English, obviously Vietnamese, and also Mandarin because they get lots of Chinese tourists when they are very close to the Chinese border. She was super helpful, and she said to us, you'll love going to the Love Waterfall. That's what it's called, Love Waterfall. It's a really nice hike. It's super flat to get there. It's really easy. You just go straight on this road and turn left. That's what I heard. And so when I hopped on them, I was like, yeah, I'll be fine on a motorbike. And so I hopped on the motorbike. We're up in the clouds, remember, so the visibility is pretty rough. And then we get going and we get driving, and I'm like, if this is her idea of flat, maybe it's relative, right? We're up in the mountains, so she's used to things being super steep, but it was epic driving, like literally driving up around the side of the mountain. And I was like, man, it is full on. We eventually got there. It was a bit of a slow trip. We're up in the clouds around you. There were times where I couldn't even see Johnny and Scarlett in front of me. And then we got to the walk and did this walk. And the walkway was beautiful and flat. We had to go down a few stairs to get to the bottom of the valley. And then we walked back in to see the waterfall. It was lovely. Complete and utter miscommunication. She gave me a message. I received a message. But neither of us checked for understanding. And so she thought that we had all the information that we needed. I thought I had all the information I needed. But I was completely wrong. She meant the walking track to the waterfall was flat and easy. It'll be no problem for you. When I heard the drive to the track will be flat and easy. It'll be no problem to you. I didn't clarify it. I didn't check for my understanding. And it was such a reminder to me of how important that third part of communication was. My assumption is you're getting the same message that I sent. But because we all have different interpretations of words, of meanings, sometimes even of the context of the situation, we can talk past each other. Communication is a 3-step process. And we went over that just this last week in the workshop inside the Moxie Business Advantage, where we're talking about those communication rhythms so that we can make sure that our team and us are always on the same page. And it's not just about talking at people or sending messages out to people. It's about making sure that they have received the same message you thought you were sending. When we got back from Vietnam, we ticked off. When I say we, a row we, because this is really a Johnny goal and I'm supporting him in it in terms of his life. Johnny got diagnosed with something called severe osteoporosis. And for a 47-year-old male, when he got diagnosed, it was pretty unusual, not ideal. My husband, he's 6'5", so he's not a little unit. There's quite a lot of him. He's long and lean. And at the time when he was breaking bones a lot for no good reason, like bending over the back of the couch and he'd break bones, he was as light as 67 kilos. So one of the success metrics for us in that our life and our business are all aligned and working for us has been his weight. And we wanted to go in the opposite direction that often we want weight to go in. We wanted to go up. We wanted to get heavier. And when he got back from Vietnam, one of the first things he wanted to do is go to the local pharmacy and hop on the scales. But he was so excited. Like, we honestly came back and had a party because he was 80 kilos. First time in his life he's been 80 kilos. And a significant milestone for us in terms of his health and well-being. The fact that he's putting on muscle like that, because maybe a little bit of fat, but not much. He's pretty lean, is really exciting. And that this has been a great move for us lifestyle-wise, that he is healing and growing muscles and feeling better. And it reminded me so much of the reason why we all start businesses, right? We don't just start them to make 7 figures of sales or drive a Porsche or own a big car. We build them for this flexibility and freedom that will help us support the important things in our lives. And they're different for everyone. For me, that's obviously my health and well-being, human as a woman, as a person in my own right. And then secondly, it's ensuring that my relationship with Johnny thrives. And part of that needs to be that he's well and healthy. And so him hitting 80 kilos, big freaking celebration for us in our household. And it's really normal, yet not spoken about enough, for us to have other success metrics other than the ones that everyone's talking about. The size of the team, the number of sales you make. I think for you and I in business, because we probably got into business for a different reason than just to make a whole lot of money. We got into it for the freedom that it gave us, the flexibility it gave us to be the parent that we wanted to be, the partner that we wanted to be. And also, in my experience working with mums in business, it really comes down to the legacy, the impact that you're going to make. The cool thing about what I get to do is there's really this ripple effect. It's this ripple effect that when I help them step up and become the business leaders and have the structures and the support around them, they then are able to do that for their teams, for their own families, for their customers and clients and their families. And it's super, super exciting. But there's this gap between I think I've got freedom and then this working hard behind the scenes. And you have to wonder why you're working so hard after you've hit some of these goals that everybody told you should. Oh, your first 100,000 or your first $20,000 month, or when you hire a team member, you've hit the revenue target. You've hired a VA. You're even taking the weekends off. So why does it still feel like you're sprinting on a treadmill in heels? Sometimes the way that we've hit those goals, just a shinier version of the old cages we used to have. Maybe an old business, maybe an old job that we used to have. If we've hit goals without being deliberate about how we're hitting them, we can end up in a trap of our own making. Maybe we're getting some nice cash flow through the business. We're still grinding it out. Sometimes hiring people means that it feels like we've got to work harder, even though apparently these people are on board to take the load off of us. And I think the noise in the marketplace is about make this much money and then everything else will be better for you. Hit these sales targets, build it so that, you've got this many customers or this many clients. And they are all really nice financial metrics. I'm not going to say don't have some money goals. I think they're super important. I do think, though, if your business doesn't fulfill your other needs as a human being, it's going to start to feel off. Most of us didn't get in this to become the next billionaire. Most of us got into this because we were like, hey, I want to feel some presence. I want to be able to be hands-on with my kids. I want to be at the assembly when my kid gets a certificate, or I want to be at their first game of the season. And so when we build businesses on that old model that I don't think has ever been designed for women that are also mothers, because they don't take into consideration the energy output that you and I, and the emotional output that you and I have to put into the rest of the humans in our lives. You're not just running a life for you. I think back to 24-year-old Sarah, and she was just Sarah, right? She could leave the house without any thoughts, keys, versus now the energy, the emotional requirements to getting out the house is much, much higher. There's more human beings to worry about. I think it's really easy to get to a place, a mum in business, that you've met some financial targets, but it's ignored the energetic drain that happens before you even start working on your business. It's ignored what you need emotionally, and it's ignored what you need from a lifestyle point of view. Now, don't get me wrong, you're probably using the flexibility to do all the things you wanted to do as a mother, and that's awesome. You've probably forgotten that you're a human being that needs some lifestyle stuff too. And so if we don't redefine what our version of success is, if we don't stop and go, hold up, like trying to get to someone else's version of life and business that worked for them, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work at the season and chapter that I'm at, where my parents are starting to age and I have to think about that piece. It doesn't work where I'm dealing with toddler tantrums, or the daycare centre calling because the little one's sick again. Or it doesn't make space for my teenage girl to have some friend dramas at school so that I can go and help and support her in that. We end up going, if I just get more, it will fix that. If I just have more customers, if I just get some more leads, if I just make some more sales, it'll fix the problem because I have some more money, and then I'll be able to use that money to give me back my time. And this is where we get stuck, because we're chasing more all the time instead of designing for better. And one of the things I advocate is, yes, we want to dream it. In terms of our businesses, everything that's ever been created always started as a thought in someone's head first. We want to dream it. And then we actually have to deliberately design it in a way that it all fits together for us. We have far more moving parts, physically getting people places, but also, like I say, energetic and emotional requirements on us as mums, as women, who are often the primary parent, the primary home giver, is completely different. And so we have to design our business, if those are the roles that you want to continue to play, we have to design our business and our lives around that. And that is very rarely about putting more into your business. We have to fix it by looking, where's the freedom missing in our lives? And the place that's going to show up first, the place that we're going to figure out what's draining our energy, what's using up most of our emotional bandwidth, our decision-making powers, is in our calendars. We're going to need to look at, where is my time going? Where am I investing time, effort, and energy across my week? And how do I find the freedom in that? Where do I find the things in that week that are going to give me freedom? The things that actually help you to feel free, not stuck or caged in by your business. What are the activities each week in your business that you love to do, that are the bit that you got out to do more of, and yet somehow you're not doing enough of it? Where are the activities for you as a human being outside of being a business owner and a mum and a partner that are just for you? And we forget as women to put in our calendars some stuff that's just for us. And it doesn't have to be fancy. It could be time blocked in your calendar where you have a cup of tea and a good book and you get to sit somewhere and read it and have no interruptions, just peace and quiet just for you. That might be your version of freedom. And so if there are parts in your calendar where you're looking at it going, that doesn't feel very free to me, that feels like a cage, that feels like a trap, we have to look at, how do we get you out of that part of time, energy, and focus investment? And getting your head around this success fatigue, what I mean by that is, people looking from the outside in are looking at you going, she's got all this shit together. Like, her marriage looks like it's functioning, her partnership looks like it's functioning really well. Look at her successful businesses. Look at her kids. Aren't they doing well? But for you, you're like, freak, I'm exhausted. I'm so exhausted. I'm tired of all the things I have to do to keep all of these things going. This is about figuring out, where am I getting drained by my business and by my life, even though by all society standards it's working. We've built this life, this business, this marriage, this parenting on somebody else's version of shoulds, on society's set of rules and structures that we have to conform to. And truthfully, we don't. If your business is draining you, if you look at your business and go, people look at me and think I'm successful, but I'm freaking tired and I'm over it, it's probably not you. It's probably the version of success that you've built isn't your version. It's the one you've been told you should have, and that doesn't feel good to everyone. For some people, they don't need such big sales numbers. I've got clients that are making a couple of $100,000 and keeping a chunk of it, but doing it in a really short space of time so that they can look after their health and well-being, shop for their kids, not work school holidays, and that's success for them. I've got other clients who are making millions, retaining a bit more money, working a little bit harder, and that's success for them. They're helping their team thrive. They're making a big impact. Neither's wrong. It's like me suggesting to you that your business should be able to be location free so you can do what we're doing. And the truth is, that's my version of success. And so every single one of us needs to know what our success looks like. Because if you build someone else's version, you are 100% going to end up with success fatigue, because it ain't your version of success. It's what someone else told you, and you're going to end up feeling bitter and resentful about the life and the business that you're living because you built something you didn't want. You'll want to go and look at what are the parts of my business, or what are the parts of my life that aren't the way I want them to be. If I had to keep doing it this way for the next 10 years, would I be happy? And if the truthful answer is no, then there's some things that need shifting. Because the way that you're working, the way that your business is working, the way that fits into your life isn't for you. Lastly, we want to introduce that lens, that reason why. And almost 99% sure that 99% of the mums that I talk to, the reason why is for their kids. The reason why is for they can be there at school pickup. So they can be done by 3. So they can be present before 9 o'clock without being stressed and rushing everyone out the door, and they can have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee by themselves before they slide into their business journey. That's what real freedom was about. It was about, how can I be a present, playful mum? How can I be my most vibrant version of myself? How can I maintain the marriage that I want to maintain and be ambitious in my business? This is about putting the done by 3 lens over everything. What does that mean? That means, where am I making things harder than they need to be? The downside to being a super smart, intelligent woman, which I know you are, and being great at solving problems, with coming up with solutions, is that you have a really bad tendency to take things more overcomplicated than they are. Put more moving parts in than you need to be. And why? Because smart people go, it can't be easy. Simplifying it, doing less is actually going to give you more long term. And when we look at things inside the Done by 3 Club and the Moxie Business Advantage for people that have a bigger business with a team, we are always looking for simple first. If you have the simple foundations right first, you can do a lot less. So Done by 3 Lens is all about having the foundations right and simplifying the things where you've put 20 steps where there only need to be 3, because I promise you, there's lots of those places. So, what do I know from here? That's great, Sarah. Now you've pointed out that I'm making it harder than it needs to be. I've been on this business journey for over 20 years now, and I can assure you I've made things way harder than they need to be. We're going to look at some really simple steps that we can do. And here's what I'm going to suggest you do. Look at your business right now and find 3 places where you're over-functioning, where you're doing a lot of stuff and not getting a lot of return. Where are you doing a whole lot of work and it's not moving the needles in your business? It might be in how you're leading your team and all the extra meetings and effort and time you're putting into culture. It could be your sales process where you're chasing and not converting the sales. It could be in your experience where you're over delivering in the hope that you'll get great reviews and great results for your customers, but actually it's more than you need to be doing. It could be in the front end in your marketing where you're hustling around to create a new website or new marketing or new posts or new social media all the time, and it's actually not moving the needles and bringing more people in. I think if you could have a look at your business and go, where am I over functioning? And that means, where am I putting in more time, effort and energy than the results are showing? and go, what could I stop? Because doing that gives you back energy, gives you back emotional space, and probably gives you back some time and some money as well. It's going to make your business better. Find those 3 parts of your business where you're over functioning and remove something. Think about doing this once a day, every day. When you do a task or when you run a system inside your business, I want you to ask yourself, if I was starting from scratch today, if I had a blank page and I was building this business right now from blank with nothing here, would I be doing this? If I was starting from scratch today, would I do this? And then if the answer is no, you could probably stop doing it. You could probably delete it. And so if you pass that test over one task, one system every day for the next, let's say, 3 or 4 weeks, I think you'll find your life and your business a lot more spacious. I want you to take some time back for yourself. I want you to block an afternoon or a morning that's just for you. No emails, no meetings, no phone calls, ideally no tech, that is just spacious. We forget that often our best ideas, moments of clarity, come where we just have space to be, just have space to rest, to do nothing. That's really going to help you start to think about, where can I do less? It's going to give you a moment to pause and be able to be creative. Make sure you haven't got to a place where you're just fatigued by the success metrics that somebody else told you that you need in your business. Because like I said at the start, success metrics for every single one of us, even though we're all mums in business, we're all going to have different metrics. Maybe yours is like mine and you need your husband to weigh 80 kilos. Maybe yours is like mine and you want to do some travel and some exploring and adventures. Or maybe it's that you want to have a home that is fully paid for, that the kids can always come back to even when you start to be a grandmother rather than the mum. Everyone's different. And until we check in and make sure it's our success metrics, not someone else, we're going to struggle with that success fatigue. We're going to feel like we're still running hard after something that doesn't work for us. Go away, take some time back, because I know that, like me, you want to be present before 9 and done by 3. Till next time, stay moxie.